Oi! Yes! What's happening, everybody? It's Wednesday night, 10:30 Central Time. We are just 3 days away from UFC 275, UFC Singapore, where we're going to have two title fights. The men's light heavyweight title fight between Yuri Prochazka and the champion Glover Teixeira, and the women's flyweight title fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Taylor Santos, who will be the challenger. So we've got like 12 fights to talk about. You can ask me any questions that you want about these fights. I've got the prop template up. I've got the advanced stats and all the fighter histories up. I've got the fights database, the regular database. We can sort things. We can do whatever you guys want. If you have any questions about this card, I got the answers as long as they're numbers related. So let's get into it, you guys. We got Victor De Jesus, my guy, in the chat saying, "Oi, yes, excited." What's up, Weezy in chat? I'm excited as fuck for UFC 275, but I'm really waiting for the fight of the decade in 2.5 weeks. Josh Parisian versus Alan Badeau, the Black Samurai, going up against Josh Parisian. Wow. Yeah, that's, it's just all downtime until that fight happens. We've got to just meander through the next couple of weeks, Vic. This is life. Oftentimes the things we're most looking forward to are very far away, and we've got to find ways to bridge those gaps. And that's probably why we're all here today. Something to occupy our mind, to get us past UFC 275, to get us past UFC Austin next week, which is going to be headlined by Josh Emmett against Calvin Kattar. That's going to be a crazy good card, but not nearly as good as a card as when we're going to have Parisian versus Badeau. But, this is what we do, Vic. We wait. Life eventually brings us the good things that we wait for, my man. And it's good to see you in here hanging out. I appreciate you. We got the Prince of Mischief saying, "Oi, what's up? This card is so unpredictable, and I'm glad to have your insight. You keeping that greasy four-leg or made any changes?" Okay, so the first change that I would like to make to the greasy four-legger is to switch out the Na Liang money line for the under 1.5 in the Na Liang Silvana Gomez Juarez fight. And I think I'm going to keep Shevchenko inside the distance as the fourth leg. But I told you guys last night that I was thinking about changing that to under 1.5. But the problem is that prop is not being dropped on a lot of sites yet. As a matter of fact, it's not even out on FanDuel yet, which is where I do these greasy four-leg parlays most of the time because a lot of them are eligible for insurance. But this one isn't, because the fight goes to decision for Young Jacek is over minus 200, and so is the under 3.5. I believe, or what was it? The fight doesn't start round 4. Let me see. I've got the banners here, so let me look at that. Here we go. So Na Liang's money line switches to Na Liang Silvana Gomez Juarez under 1.5, and then the fight goes to decision for Young Jacek Zhang Shevchenko inside the distance, and the Teixeira Prochazka doesn't start round 4. Yeah, on FanDuel it's 976, but I think it'll probably be less than that because the Na Liang money line I think is just a tiny bit juicier than the under 1.5. But we might be able to find the fight doesn't start round 3 for that one. Well, let's see if FanDuel has got a line on this one yet. Or wait, we can just go to best fight odds and check that one out. Yeah, still nothing on FanDuel for that fight, unfortunately. But yeah, that is the greasy four-legger. And let me play with that here and do the change it to the under 1.5. Under 1.5 Liang Juarez. All right, and then we'll show that one. So yeah, that's the greasy four-legger for this week. I do think Na Liang gets the job done, and I like the four-legger that I gave out last night on Just the Tip. But I do, that time prop for that fight is one of my favorite ones of the week. And I've got it under 2.5 at minus 170. But this time, that line was only open for like about an hour, and it was like 3 weeks ago. So that line just isn't available anymore. And let's see here. What do we got? We got Cole Stein in the room here saying, Uncle Weezy, oi, can't wait to stack cash tickets this weekend while watching these bangers. Let's eat. Let's do it, man. I'm on a 2-event losing streak tracked, unfortunately. So I've got to get out of that hole and make some money. And the track bets right now are the Nao Liang under 2.5 at minus 170 for 3.4 units. And then I've got a 2-leg parlay. It is the under 3.5 in the Teixeira Prochazka fight parlay with the Brendan Allen money line. That came out to minus 119, and I've got it for 2.4 units to try to win too. Both of those bets hit, and I'll be up 4 units on the day. But if any one of those 3 doesn't come through, it will be a losing week. But I don't know if I'm going to have any other tracked bets. And we got my guy Daz File saying, oi, great underdog card, hopefully. There do seem to be a lot of paths to victory for the underdogs on this card. Papa Chuck saying, Unk, do you think Manel Kopp likes orange, apple, or cranberry juice? Trick question. He loves all the juices. And that is so true, man. He tested positive for Tyrannobol in Vegas. But evidently, the commission in Vegas doesn't have anything to do with the commission in Singapore. So he was allowed to fight under the UFC banner in Singapore, even though he failed a drug test and was caught juicing. Yeah, it's something else. It's one of these little loopholes. But I guess the UFC and the Nevada boxer or the Nevada commission doesn't have any pull in Singapore. And I mean, which is actually a good thing because that probably means that Sal D'Amato is not going to be here. He likes TKO round 1 the best, says Daz Files. And I mean, he likes that, but I think he likes the juice just a little bit more because it allows him to get that first round TKO. And Daz Files saying, just off the question, how much do you think the Singapore hometown advantage will play into the fights? So here's the thing. What I'd like to know is, when is this card starting? If I go to DraftKings, and we go to MMA, it says Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Okay, so Saturday at 5:30 p.m. So it's going to be at 5:30 a.m. when this card starts in Singapore. So I think in some respects, you being from the area is good because you're not switching time zones in order to get over there. You're not being on a long flight, but you're also not fighting at a time that you're normally up or doing activity for, in a lot of cases, especially if you're early on that card. If you're Nao Liang against Silvana Gomez Juarez, Nao Liang is going to be fighting at like 6 o'clock in the morning, her time. So she's probably had to change a lot of her routine for this. And I think that it's something that you don't want to overthink. I don't really look at narratives for fights because I find oftentimes that you just want to look at the tape and the numbers, because that tells you what they've done in the cage, and that's always the most important information. Everything outside of that is noise, and a lot of times, especially listening to fighter interviews, you're going to listen to a guy that's out there fucking lying, because he's not going to tell, some Yahoo who's asking him a question what his game plan is. He's going to lie and make it look like he's going to do something that he isn't. So like, I just don't listen to interviews. I try not to play into the narratives. And one of the narratives is there going to be home cooking? Well, how do you cap that? How do you put a number on that? I don't even know who the judges are for this card. So the only thing I'm trying to consider is, did somebody make a long flight over there? And if they did, will that affect them? And how long have they been there? And then from there, I'm just looking at the stats that I have, the information that I have, and the tape study that I've done. So I don't think it'll play that much in. These judges are usually, they might have some home cooking, but we don't know that for a fact, and it's hard for it. We don't want to make our betting decisions based on speculation over that. So, because that'll make you wind up making bets that you wouldn't have made anyway. So, yeah, I don't think it'll play in that much. As Rick Sanchez saying, "What is up? Any action? Good? Any action? Sportscast saying what's good? Weezy." And then Rick Sanchez, why is Valentina minus 600 now? Minus 600 is an 83% implied probability. So she's she's just a huge favorite, but she's been bigger favorites than this over like the last 4 or 5 fights. So maybe is the line coming in at all? Let's look. Shevchenko. Yeah, so she was all the way up to like minus 800, and now there's just money coming in up to minus 655. Maybe some people think that Taila Santos is as tough of a matchup as she's had recently. She is very well-rounded, not a lot of holes in her game. She's won minutes on the ground. She's looked very good winning minutes on the feet, and she's shown almost 90% takedown defense thus far in the UFC. So maybe people think that this is just going to be a close fight. And if that's the case, you'd rather be holding that plus money ticket, because the judging is, you never know what the judging is going to be. We just talked about is there going to be a hometown rub for these fighters? And, Valentina is originally from Kyrgyzstan, so she's from the area, while Taylor Santos is not. So, very, I'm not surprised there's some money coming in. When you look at somebody like at minus 833, I mean, they're not bettable. I mean, if you're trying to be a long-term winning gambler, you're not betting on anybody that's minus 800. All the props are too juiced. The money line's too juiced. Too much risk for too little reward. And you don't put yourself in situations like that. Jeff K saying, let's go. Prince Goro fight week. We got Lamar Lockett saying, I'm looking to round out a parlay, which 2 fights are best to go to decision. I like the Joanna Jangwei Lee fight to go to decision. And then let me see here. Do I have that up? 611. I made a little DraftKings sheet here. Let me share my screen for you guys. So I made this here, and I've got the fight goes to decision lines in this. So if I go here and I sort this by column S, and so our fight doesn't go. There we go. And we'll go smallest to largest. So the biggest numbers are, the Zhang Wei Li Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight is most likely to go to decision here at plus 173. And the second most likely to go to decision is Edwards and Pasquale. Edwards not much of a finisher. Pasquale finishes cans, but Edwards is not a can. So that's a decent bet to go to decisions. Plus money to not go. Jack Della Maddalena against Ramazan Emeev. Now, Maddalena has only had 1 decision in his entire career, and it was against Angalusa. Emeev is definitely a slower-paced fighter who does like to work in the grappling, and I think that he's going to be at such a deficiency on the feet here that he probably should go to the grappling. Emeev, 5 wins in the UFC, no finishes, and as a matter of fact, every single one of his UFC fights has went to decision, but he's fighting a guy like Maddalena who's only been to decision once. So when you're playing time props for that fight, I think that you stay away from guessing whether it's going to go over or under, and then pick each fighter by their best win condition, which in this case would be Ramazan Emeev by decision and Jack Della Maddalena inside the distance. So I wouldn't bet that one's going to go to decision. Santos Shevchenko is a 5-round fight. I wouldn't want to sweat that one out. Kyung Ho Kang and Tanab Bakkarel at minus 120 for the fight doesn't go to decision. I I think they both have finishing paths here. Hokong has been very durable, and Batgarel pretty much has as well, but he got knocked out by a vicious shot. But the only one I really do like to go to decision is, I think the Sungwoo Choi Kulabao fight probably goes to decision, and the Zhang Wei Li Ioana Jędrzejczyk fight probably goes to decision. Those are my two most likely to go to decision there. And we got Grateful Dude in the room taking notes. We've got Jeff K saying, I might be missing the Qatar card to get messed up and see music. Well, that's fine. I mean, it's okay. If you're going to see a good band, there's nothing quite like live music, man. So I'm fine with that. And then you can come home after the show and watch the fights and count all the money that you made betting on them while you're out seeing the concert. Nothing wrong with that, Jeff. Let's do it. And ring a ding ding. My guy Take No Prisoners in the room with the first donation of Ask Weezy of the evening. He says, what do you think, Weezy? Ismagulov versus Kutateladze. Just with no tape study whatsoever, it's Ismagulov for me. Kutateladze fights like once every 3 years. Very inactive fighter. Lost his fight against Gamrot. I thought that was pretty clear, but could have been a fixed fight. Maybe just Sal D'Amato was in the building, but I think Gamrot got Kutateladze got gifted that fight against Gamrot, and Kutateladze just pulls out of fights over and over again. Don't have a lot of faith in the guy. Ismagulov is about as underrated as a 155-pounder can be right now. And we haven't seen Ismagulov in a minute either. So, but I do like Ismagulov's overall game. Very, very sharp striker, very well-rounded, and huge for the weight class. I think it's going to be a good spot for Demir to win this one. But I would need to do more tape study on this one for sure, because haven't seen Kutateladze in a while. I mean, like, that Gamrot fight was like 2 years ago. And then, but before that, I think he had taken a couple of years off in between a couple other fights. Actually, it's funny you should ask that, because I was just starting to do the stats for next week. And so I've got 6 to 18 here. And I've got Guram in here. Jasmine, there's Gregory, there's Julian, there's Guram. So Guram has been fighting for 12 years. The length of his career is 12 years, and he only has 14 fights. So this guy shows up like once a year to fight. And even if he wins this fight, we probably won't see him again until like the beginning of 2024. So, somebody that's that inactive, that just, that's a big red flag for me. And like I said, I think he lost his last fight too. So, I'm going to be picking this from Gulov there. But thank you for the donation. Take No Prisoners. We appreciate you, brother. Thanks for hanging out. Jester is in the room saying, what's up, Weezy? Good to see you, Jester. Thanks for hanging out, brother. Sloppy Second saying, I love the time of day Weezy streams. It's 5:30 p.m. here. Perfect for me. Nice, dude. That's perfect, because it is 10:50 right now for me. So, yeah, we're getting kind of late at night, but I'm going to be staying up late tonight watching the UFC, the road to the UFC 1. That is starting in 2 hours and 38 minutes on UFC Fight Pass, and I have UFC Fight Pass, so I will be watching that. Get some good Asian regional scene mixed martial arts, and these guys fighting for contracts. It's like the Asian Contender Series from what I can tell, so I'm looking forward to that. And Victor DeJesus saying, hey, Weezy, what are the chances Kulabao finishes Sungwoo Choi? So we've got Sungwoo Choi. Let's look at the finish stats for both of these guys, because I think Kulabao is only won by knockout. Yes. So Kulabao in 9 professional wins has 5 wins by knockout, 0 by submission. So my opinion is that he's not knocking out Sungwoo Choi. Sungwoo Choi has been knocked out once in his career, but he's been subbed twice, and both of his losses at the UFC level that were finishes were by submission. Now, I know Kulabao does have a Brazilian jiu-jitsu game, and I think he's, he might be like a brown belt or purple belt, maybe even a black belt, but we just haven't seen him be able to get to the grappling here. 0 for 11 on his takedown attempts in the UFC. So I think Kulabao's best chance to finish Sung Woo Choi is on the ground by submission. But if he's 0 for 11 on takedowns, and Sung Woo Choi's takedown defense has gotten a lot better ever since he came into the UFC, and it looked bad, but it was against Movsar Evloev in his debut. I mean, that's a horseshit debut, man, to be fed to Movsar Evloev, and it was Evloev's debut as well, I believe. So, yeah. This is not a situation where I see Culibao finishing Sung Woo Choi with strikes, because Sung Woo is just too technical, too crisp, and too big. He's really big too, and he uses his length well. So even though Culibao does throw some nice kicks, I really don't see him getting a finish over Sung Woo Choi. I don't see him knocking him out. I see Sung Woo Choi kind of cruising to an easy decision here, or even getting a knockout. But Culibao has been knocked out in his only loss. But we have to remember that it was up a weight class on short notice, I believe, against Jalen the Tarantula Turner, an absolute killer. So I don't know if that knockout loss is really even relevant, just because this guy, I mean, he tends to not get finished. And when you go up a weight class on short notice, you have to take that into consideration. So, Vic, I don't really think that Culibao is going to finish Sung Woo Choi. And I think if somebody gets a finish in this fight, it's probably going to be Sung Woo Choi. And let's move on to the next question. We got Gogo Flamingo in the room, and he is saying, "Oi, by Sunday morning, there's going to be a lot of violated bookies seriously questioning their life decisions." That is always the plan here. We're planning on getting these pockets fatter than Parker Porter's ass, and really making sure that we beat these bookies with a bag of oranges until we juice those oranges. And then while they're lying on the ground, moaning, internally bleeding, we sit back and we drink that orange juice in front of them to let them know they shouldn't have taken our bets in the first place, because we're doing our research and we got them right where we want them. Go Flamingo. Good to see you here as usual, my friend. We got Cody saying, should I shave my ass for this card? The answer to that is none of my business, Cody. It's that is a personal decision that I don't have the answer to, and I never will have the answer to that question for you, because that is not a question for your Uncle Weezy. That is a question that you look in the mirror and you ask yourself. And the most important thing when you answer that question to yourself, Cody, be honest. All right, brother? God bless. We got Kenneth Wall in the room saying, the Greasy Weezy is always a fun one. Put 300 on it last week. That cashed. Kenneth, love hearing that, man. At almost 10-1. We love hearing you printing those money, making those bookies cry. That's what I love to hear, Kenneth. Big up yourself, brother. Love to hear you guys cashing these parlays. Dan Hamilton saying, he's got the juice and you have to lay the juice on him. You got that right. And we've got Alex Ramirez, the general, in here taking notes. We got my guy Nick Alexander in here taking notes. We got Sloppy Seconds in the room saying Sal D'Amato will be there, so there will be some type of cooking. If I were Sal D'Amato, I wouldn't go to a place like Singapore, man. He might have pissed off the wrong people there, and that's the kind of place that you don't get to leave when you piss off the people of Singapore. So, I don't know if Sal D'Amato is brave enough to make that flight. And frankly, anybody stupid enough to buy a plane ticket to bring that corrupt prick out, across an ocean to let his room temperature IQ ass watch fights for free, and then let the fighters' futures be decided by him, be such a bad decision. And there's no way they are bringing Sal D'Amato. I'll tell you something too, and it's probably true. Because Sal is a part of that athletic commission that banned Cop, I don't think he'll be going over there to judge fights, because they're basically spitting in the face of the commission that he works for by letting Cop fight over there. So let's just hope and pray that your Uncle Weezy's right about that, and we won't have Sal D'Amato fucking up our tickets this weekend. We got David Nettles in the room saying, Uncle Weezy, great insight as always. Question though, when you have two fighters with different fighting styles, striker versus grappler, how do you handicap who gets the fight to go to their strength? So I think that there's very important things to look at, right? Striker versus grappler matchup is Kong versus Bakary, right? And we can look at it here and we can talk about a fighter's commitment to their wrestling, which is so important, right? Also, the control time numbers, I feel, are extremely important in a striker versus grappler matchup. So what I'm looking for to define somebody as a striker as is somebody who in their amount of fights does not attempt a lot of takedowns, also is very good at keeping their control, the time that they're controlled by their opponents, to a low number, and that the amount of time that they spend in control time positions is a very small percentage of their UFC cage time, because it means that if I think that they're a striker, I'm going to be more likely to bet on them when I see that they're successful keeping fights standing. Now, also, I have to look at Kyung Ho Kong. If I want Kong to win this fight, and I think his path to victory is that he needs to wrestle and he needs to win the grappling positions, I'm looking at his commitment to the wrestling. 10 UFC fights for Kong, 32 takedown attempts, so that's 3.2 takedown attempts per fight. I look at how effective he is at getting those takedowns. In this case, very effective. 60% takedown accuracy is excellent. So 2.23 takedowns for 15 minutes. And then I want to see that the grappler is spending more than half the fights. I don't care if it's so much that he's really out controlling his opponents as much as that it's in the grappling realm. It's going to be where they're most comfortable. Even if they're on the bottom, you know, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu player whose strength is their grappling can make things happen from their back. And while they might be losing the minutes with their opponent on top of them, they have the ability to be able to change the trajectory of the fight by getting a sweep, by going for a submission, by standing back up, and then maybe getting the fight back down to the ground on their terms. So commitment to wrestling. And then when we look at something like Bakary, we also have to look at how have his opponents taken the fight. Has Dana Bakkerell's opponents made him uncomfortable? Because it's clear here that a guy who in only 5 UFC fights has only attempted 2 takedowns. It's pretty clear that tells me all I need to know about where that fighter is most comfortable. And I always joke about this on Stat Diggers with Brady. You know, I'll say that I can always fucking tell a fighter is lying by looking at the stats when we have a good sample size. Like, I'll hear somebody like Jamal Hill say, my ground game is just as good, if not better, than my stand-up. And I say, fucking bullshit. Bullshit. It's not. Because if it was, you'd be attempting takedowns. You would actually be more comfortable on the ground, and you would be doing things in your fights to try to get the fight to the ground. We don't see him doing that. You know, the fact that he has 0 takedown attempts in his 7 UFC fights tells us everything that we need to know about how confident he is about his ground game. That's why I say, don't listen to what comes out of these guys' mouths. They're fucking lying. They don't even tell the truth about their height. Okay? They're not going to tell you the truth about their game plan. They're not going to tell you how they plan on winning. And they're certainly not going to ever be fucking honest with you about what their weaknesses are. Okay? So, Bakkerell, 7 takedowns attempted against him in 5 fights. So, one thing that would give me pause if I were betting on Dana Bakkerell is, okay, 5 fights, 7 takedown attempts, that's his opponents haven't been wrestling him. So how will he look if he faces somebody like Ho Kong who says maybe attempts 5, 6 takedowns over 3 rounds? How is he going to look in a fight like that? Well, we don't have that information. So that should give you pause. When you're looking at the striker versus grappler, you're looking at the grappler's takedown accuracy. You're looking at how many takedowns he gets per 15 minutes. You're looking at how many submission attempts he gets per 15 minutes. You're looking whether he's out-controlling his opponents or whether it's the other way around. And then you're also looking at the takedown defense of the striker. You're looking at how many takedowns they've faced in the fights that they've had. How often are they being controlled? And that number is relative too, because 3 takedowns, 28 minutes of cage time. He's been controlled for about 3 minutes on 3 takedowns and 7 takedown attempts, and that's in 5 fights. So we can also look a little bit further into the stats, and you'll notice that all 7 of these takedown attempts were from Haley Alateng, and they all came in the 3rd round of that fight. And in the 3rd round of that fight, we saw Alateng get almost 2.5 minutes of control time. So when I broke down this fight, I see a guy in Ho Kong who does have good commitment to the wrestling. He's got a good takedown percentage. He's got 3 wins by submission in the UFC. So when he's getting the fight to the ground, he's actually effective at finishing the fight there. And he's spending 41.67 plus 22.62. So about 64%, over 64% of his fights in grappling positions, while for Batgarel, it's about 13% of his fights. So what you can do here is you can say, all right, yeah, I think Ho Kong is a good grappler, and I can say that if I'm on the Ho Kong side, yeah, we really don't know how Danaa Batgarel is going to hold up against that kind of pressure. But don't ever forget to look at the striking side of it too, because when you see somebody like Danaa Batgarel landing a knockdown on 1.86% of the significant strikes that he's landing, and that means 3 knockdowns in 5 fights, and that he's landed a knockdown in each one of his wins. And in each one of his losses, he hasn't. So you can break down the fight like that, and then you start to ask yourself honestly before you decide who you like. Does Danaa Batgarel have the ability to keep this fight on the feet? And if he does, is he powerful enough to land that one big shot? The answer is yes. And then you say, does Kyung Ho Kong have the requisite commitment to the wrestling, the ability to be able to push that pace for 3 rounds? The history of showing that he's willing to do that when he has that advantage? The answer to that is also yes. So who am I picking in this fight? Nobody. I mean, I actually am picking Danaa Batgarel to win just to have a pick. But am I betting this fight? No, because I could see either one of these guys having that path to victory. But David, that's how I break down a striker versus grappler matchup. And we could go even deeper than that, and look at the fighter histories and determine, the guys that Batgarel knocked out, were any of those guys wrestlers? And if not, then maybe that's the matchup that Batgarel needs in order to be successful. And there's reason to think that, yeah, he might not hold up against the wrestling pressure of Kyung Ho Kong and the slick grappling game of Kyung Ho Kong. And if Ho Kong goes out there with the idea that I'm not going to let this guy be comfortable on the feet because he's got bricks for hands and he's shown that he can be taken down and controlled. So I'm going to take the path of least resistance here. If he does that, he's a very, very live dog. So that's how I break it down. I hope that answered your question, David. And that's a great question, by the way. And Uncertainty saying, Uncle Weezy, do you think Allen will finish Valkoon or the fight will go to the distance? So I actually think he probably will finish Valkoon. We saw Valkoon melted in 10 seconds by Phil Hawes. And I think part of that is because Phil Hawes having that wrestling background, maybe didn't make Valkoon confident about any kind of path to victory there. Because, look, Valkoon is a very one-dimensional fighter. And that one dimension that he brings is excellent. When you have really good wrestling, good top control, position over submission, and most importantly, the gas tank to drive that pace, which Valkoon has all those things, you're going to be very dangerous against people that can't stop takedowns and have a trash ground game. And guess what? AJ Dobson and Abdul Razak Al Hassan can't stop takedowns, and they have trash ground games. These are guys who absolutely they need to have the fight on the feet in order to be successful. As a matter of fact, Abdul Razak Al Hassan has never won a professional fight outside of the first round. Every single one of his wins is first round knockout. That tells you that he needs to keep the fight standing. And he doesn't have the ability. We've seen it in his previous fights that if somebody goes out there to try to wrestle him, he's not stopping it. So, Valkoon has had a couple of really good matchups here. But now he's getting a guy in Brendan Allen that not only prefers to be on the ground, but is a much better striker than him and has really sharpened up that area of his game. So, you're going to have a guy in Valkoon who really has got a really tough road to hoe here, because he's going to have to take down Brendan Allen in order to win this fight and then win a bunch of minutes on top. But Brendan Allen is at his most dangerous when he's on the ground. And he's got finishes with guillotines. He's got a great straight arm bar to triangle transition that he uses to either submit fighters or to work submissions. And he does have a tendency to go for leg locks, which, at this level can get you in a lot of trouble. But also, when you're going for leg locks, if you do it the right way, you can use them to sweep. And look, if Brendan Allen gets on top of Jacob Valkoon, it's over. He's probably going to ground and pound him out. He's probably going to get his back and submit him. But, Valkoon won't last if he gets reversed at any point in this fight. And Brendan Allen is absolutely live to do that. But, Valkoon brings great conditioning. So, if Allen has a big first round and is unable to get him out of there, I could see this going to decision, because, Allen's going to be the worst conditioned athlete here. I have no doubt of that, because Jacob Valkoon, if he has one thing, it's great conditioning. So I'm not going to be playing time props in this one. As a matter of fact, this is one fight that I might be willing to take a small stab on the fight goes to decision, just because of Valkoon's conditioning and his ability to be able to wrestle. Maybe if this fight does spend a lot of time on the ground and Brendan can't lock up a submission, I would say that it most likely does go to decision. And I don't think Jacob Valkoon is finishing Brendan Allen. This guy is on a completely different level than anybody's ever fought before. So, even Phil Hawes, I think Brendan Allen would destroy Phil Hawes. So, this is what I'm going with for Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. I hate this matchup for Valkoon. It's a style thing for me. I just don't think you ever want to be on the ground with Brendan Allen. And if you're a good striker, you have to just hope that Brendan's too stupid to try to take you down. And guess what? That's happened a couple times already. He's had really bad performances against Sean Strickland and Chris Curtis because he fell in love with his striking. He fell in love with his hands. Well, in this case, falling in love with his hands is going to win him the fight. And if Valkoon isn't comfortable on the feet, he's going to have to take Brendan Allen down, and then he's going to be the worst submission grappler on the ground. So, like Brendan Allen from all directions here, but I'm not picking a time prop. Brandon 9801 saying, I'm not betting that fight. I hear you, man. OKK saying, does Weezy have Fialho to win? Yes, I do. I'm picking Fialho to win the fight. I think he's the more powerful striker, but this is going to be a really tough matchup for him. And Jake Matthews is no joke. I'm not putting my money anywhere near that fight. There's a lot of fights that Kyung Ho Kong and Baccarel is a great example of a fight where I think both fighters have a really good path to victory, and I can't decide which one of them is better. So it's like it's kind of just like, all right, take the plus money and hope for the best, and I feel like that is actually kind of true in a lot of these matchups from a betting perspective. But when I actually go through and I make my picks, I'm picking like 8 or 9 favorites, but I think that the underdogs are live from a betting perspective because their path to victory is there. But still, I'm not entirely confident in any of these picks, because I feel like all these fights are very competitive and both fighters have a path. Brandon 9801 saying under 4.5 Glover parlay with Garcia fight doesn't go to decision. That's not a bad look there, Brandon. I've got the I think it's the under 3.5. I've got the under 3.5 parlayed with the Brendan Allen money line for minus 119. I love violence in the Glover Jerry fight. It's another style matchup where if it stays standing, Glover gets hurt all the time on the feet. And when Jiri hurts you, you usually don't get a chance to come back. And we see how deadly Glover is in the ground. And we know that Jiri Prochazka is not a great defensive wrestler and doesn't have the kind of ground game that would scare Glover Teixeira away from taking it there. And that, I think Glover's going to be deadly there. So, yeah, I love that under 4.5 Glover. And Garcia fight doesn't go to decision. I'm not as high on. Garcia is a finisher. Mahashate, we just don't know much about him. There's no footage on this guy. But I think that Garcia, if he tries to wrestle, that this fight will go to decision. But I think if it stays on the feet, it's going to be a war and somebody's getting knocked out. We got Danny Sue saying, "Oi, let's go." What's up, Danny? We got OKK saying that Fialho and Shevchenko win. My 6-fight parlay paying 5,500. OKK, I will be rooting for Fialho and Shevchenko for you, brother. Love to see you cash that one. We got Bernardo Pacheco saying, "What's up, Weezy? Shout out from Brazil. Jiri and Glover, under 1.5 or under 2.5? I would go with the under 2.5. Nothing wrong with getting those extra 5 minutes in there, Bernardo. We love having that extra time. And, Prochazka is not a guy that's like lacking of conditioning here. And he carries his power into the second round. And we know that Glover, it only takes about 10 seconds on the ground if you make a mistake against that guy, where you're going to wind up getting submitted. So I love the under 2.5. Pay the extra juice to get that, Bernardo. Obrigado, brother, for hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate you. Tristan Sherhaus saying, "Yeah, Weezy, what's up, Tristan? Good to see you in here." We got my guy Chris Kalanzis saying, "Let's go, Uncle Weezy." Oi, what's up, Chris? Good to see you, brother. We got Tristan saying, "Early prediction for Lucas Brzezky versus Martin Brudai." So, Tristan, I've never seen Brzezky fight. Did he fight on the Contender Series? Let me look here, because I know that I'm already. Oh, that's another card altogether. So I like Brudai, but this Brzezky, I need to see more of him. So I don't have a prediction on this one. I think Brzezky was on the Contender Series, but I don't know. I'm afraid I don't know, man. I had Brudai down as my ass shaving the week against Huggy Bear, and I thought that elbow was not illegal. I thought it was a legal elbow. I didn't think that fight should have been stopped, but oh well. Technical decision for Brudai. I think Brudai is good, but if this guy Brzezky's well-rounded at all, I think it'll be a really good fight. But it just seemed like Brudai was happy to kind of just lean on the cage against Barnett, and I didn't particularly care for that. Cody saying, "I was referring to your ass shaving cream play." I know what you're talking about, Cody. Yeah, no, yeah, dude. So the ass shaving of the week this week is Brendan Allen over Jacob Valkoon here. But yeah, I think you already knew that. So yeah, but yeah, don't shave your own ass, man. Don't do that. And then August 13th. Yeah, okay, August 13th is when that fight is taking place. Yeah, I don't know yet, man, because I don't know anything about Brzezky. I'm going to have to look into that, dude. And we got my guy MMA Code in the room saying, "Oi, what's up, dude?" And we got Cole saying, "Laughing my ass off. Sal always judges like he's jet lag." Yeah, he sure does, man. Stevie23 saying, "Oi, Weezy in the house. First time I've been able to catch his show live, so I'm in Vegas just now. So I live in Scotland, so it's hard to catch the live." Yeah, you'd have to wake up at the crack of dawn to catch me live on Tuesday night, Stevie. I appreciate you, and enjoy Vegas, man. Have a drink for me. Put down a bet for me, and let's fucking cash it, Stevie. Let's go, baby. Papa Chuck saying, "Sal probably works for both commissions." Yeah, can you imagine? See, I mean, like, it's a slap in the face. This guy is still judging fights, because everybody knows, everybody who watches MMA, who has a triple-digit IQ, knows that this guy is bought and paid for. We know that he's had some of the most inexplicable scorecards, and it happens every fucking week. And to think that, not only could this guy be on a Nevada commission, but he could be on a Florida commission. He was on a France commission. They flew him out to France to judge Bellator fights, you know, and I think to myself, like, you know, we all joke around about how fucking stupid Sal D'Amato is, but like, think about it, man. I mean, the people who are paying Sal D'Amato his salary, he must be making them very, very happy. I mean, how else could you fucking explain being so bad at your job, comically bad? Like, you know, I mean, you'd have to go to like cartoons and find, you know, like the Roadrunner working with Acme products to find ineptitude on the level of Sal D'Amato. I mean, like, I bet if you took Sal D'Amato to New Mexico and you gave him some roller skates from Acme with rockets on the back and say, put them on, Sal. I'll get you going about 10 miles an hour, nice and slow, nice and safe. I bet it'll work. Sal would probably be like, okay, boss, I'll put on the skates. And then he'd go flying off that cliff just like the Roadrunner with the sign on the way down. Like, how did I fall for this? You know, and that's Sal D'Amato. You're talking about a guy who, you know, we like to think has a 67 IQ, but it's probably about 150. You know, people tell him, hey, Sal, we need this fight to go this way. And I mean, he probably just does it. How else is this guy still got his job unless he's making the people who pay his salary happy? I mean, I'd like to hear any other fucking explanation, because when Vyacheslav Kisiev almost got Benoit Saint Denis killed in the cage by Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, you know, Mark Goddard, who was in charge of the referees that day, you know, told him, get the fuck out of here. You're done. He was supposed to ref another fight that night. They kicked him out that day. And to think that you could give a 48-47 scorecard for Jack Hermanson over Strickland, and to think that your boss wouldn't pull you into a fucking office, hey, Sal, step into my fucking office. And Sal would be like, why? Because you're fucking fired, Sal. 48-47, 30-27 for Corey McKenna. Didn't he have Macy Barber beating Miranda Maverick? I mean, like, over and over and over and over and over again, it happens. And nobody ever takes Sal to their office and fucking fires him. So who's paying this guy? You know, I'd like to know who's signing Sal D'Amato's checks, because when you find out that, you know who the most corrupt man on the fucking planet is. It's the man signing Sal D'Amato's checks. Plusser name saying so many near even odds fighters this card. I know. That's why it's so hard to pick sides on so many of these fights. Big Timers just said in 3 words what I just took 15 minutes to say. Thank you, Big Timers. Sloppy Second saying Sal probably works for one of the big books. He works for a big crook, I'll tell you that. David Milk saying they said that Cop pissed hot in his last fight and he's not allowed to fight in the United States, but he can fight this week because it's out of the country. Have you heard about this? Sounds weird. Yeah, David, this is the truth. He is not allowed to fight right now in Las Vegas because he pissed hot for Tyrannoball, but that is a decision of the Nevada Gaming Commission, and the people in Singapore don't answer to the Nevada Gaming Commission, and the UFC does business with gaming commissions all over the world. They're the ones that sanction the fights in different countries. And in this particular one, they're happy to let Manel Cop use steroids, or, you know, they don't care that he's pissed hot for them in the past. So it is weird, but that's you know, part of the corruption of the sport. You know, Prince of Mischief saying you mentioned that Bontarin's win condition was decision. No, I think he could submit Manel. I think he could knock him out. But Manel has only been finished in 33% of his losses, and I think both of them were by submission. So I do believe that Bontarin does have more than one path to victory. It's plus 550, though, for Bontarin by decision. How confident are you in Bontarin getting a decision? Cap by KO is not good enough for me to play. Yeah, so it's another fight that I'm not touching. You know, I mean, like, I kind of feel like if I were to make a bet, it might be Bontorin by decision, and here's why. It's because if the fight does go the full 15, it means that Manel Kape didn't land the big shot that changed the trajectory of the fight and got him the finish. And Manel Kape only has one win by decision in his career, and he's a very experienced mixed martial artist. And here's a guy with 6 losses. He's been to decision 5 times in career, and he's lost 4 of them. Now, that's a statistic that tells you something about the way somebody fights. Because if you are only winning inside the distance, it tells you something about your ability to be able to win minutes. And Bontorin, if he is able to wrestle Kape and do it successfully, and let's be real serious here, though. Kape's got great counter wrestling, and this guy is no joke in his ability to be able to stuff takedowns and his ability to be able to grapple. He's just more dangerous on the feet, so he prefers to keep the fight there. But he can mix in wrestling offensively, and he can stop takedowns. So it's going to be tough for Bontorin to get this fight to the ground. But if he does, he could win minutes there and potentially win a decision. And I kind of feel like, that if this fight goes to decision, that that's probably Bontorin's best way here, because he's been rocked before. He's been knocked out by Kai Kara France, and and Kape is a guy who's an absolute finisher. So at plus 550, I think it's worth a look. If he lasts, if he is able to win minutes on, and he can win minutes on the feet here too, because Kape is a counter striker who's looking for one big shot. He can lose minutes on the feet too. So I don't hate Bontorin by decision at plus 550. I just don't think I'm getting anywhere near that fight. The line's too wide on Kape, and Bontorin, I just don't know if I can count on him. Sloppy Second saying, someone mentioned that Sal stated on his Twitter that he was en route. Didn't look into it though, so I can't say for sure. Fucking A, man. Dude, how the hell does Sal D'Amato have a public Twitter and not get fucking dragged literally with 20,000 hate tweets a day? That's not even possible. There's no fucking way he's got a Twitter, dude. It would have to be private, because everybody in the world hates Sal D'Amato. Oh, God, I hope you guys are wrong about this prick being there. I really am. MMA Code saying, Uncle Weezy, do you think 145 weight class will favor Pasquale? Yes, I do. I think Edwards never fought above 135. Yeah, she might have fought above 135 before, but yeah, I mean, Pasquale, this fight was original. You guys, I promise you, UFC stats, Tapology, they had this at 135 last week. I think maybe what happened was there's no chance that Pasquale is making 135, so she asked for it to be up a weight class, and Jocelyn Edwards, already training, probably just said, all right, because if she says no, now she's not getting paid. Now she's got to wait for the next fight. So, yes, I absolutely think it favors Pasquale, because, first of all, I didn't think that she was going to make 135 in the first place. Second of all, now we got Edwards moving up to a weight class where we've seen what Edwards' biggest problem has been, and that's by getting taken down and being held down. And now that this is up a weight class, it's another 10 pounds on top of her, and it's going to be even harder for her to get up. So, yeah, I think it absolutely favors Pasquale. My guy, Mr. Finland, Jarno Portilla, saying, what's up, Weezy? I'm buying my first own house today, and I'm feeling great. Let's cash tickets next weekend, too. Dude, we got to pay that mortgage every month now, Jarno. So congratulations on your new home, brother. And let's keep cashing tickets so that we can pay off that home real quick. We got Any Action Sportscast saying, bro, Weezy, not afraid to call that bullshit. Damn right, man. That's why you guys come here, because I speak my mind. And yes, absolutely, I second the congratulations to Jarno. That's awesome, man. Good to see that. MMA Code saying, Allen by sub plus 150. Yeah, I think that's probably the best path. What's Allen by KO, though? That's probably way juicier. And Allen, if this stays standing, is live for a KO. So, yeah, plus 350, plus 275. So Allen inside the distance at plus 100-ish. And Allen by sub plus 150. Ah, God. I hate these props this week, you guys. I'm just betting that Allen money line. I've got Allen parlayed with the under 3.5 in the main event, and I'm happy with that bet. I think that those are both really safe looks, and I've got 3.4 units on that now, Leon, under 2.5 at minus 170 that I got like 3 weeks ago. And, I now that I've got those spots, I'm not going to be pushed into anything else and feel like I have to rush any other action on this card, because this feels like the kind of card where if you're the type of person that will bet 8 money line bets, this is the fucking card where you're going 0 of 8. And I'm not saying that you're going 0 of 8 because you don't know what you're talking about. This is the kind of card where you've got both fighters with paths to victory in a lot of cases here. And it's the kind of, one where if you get the first couple wrong, it could just fall apart like a Chinese motorcycle. And at the end of the night, you're down 12 units wondering what the fuck happened. Now, I'm the kind of guy, I don't usually have a lot of bets going and a lot of different spread out action. I like to pound those spots that stick out and then sprinkle things elsewhere where it feels like I'm getting a little bit of value. But yeah, for me, I'm not fucking around with these paths. And that's one of the reasons I picked Brendan Allen as the ass shaving of the week, because I think that if he stuffs takedowns and keeps us on the feet, he could win a decision. He could get a knockout. If this goes to the ground, he's always live for a sub. Such a dangerous submission grappler. So, yeah, I think that he's got more than one path to victory. So he's the one I feel the safest about. So, yeah, I'm not playing that prop, dude. But, good luck to you if you do. I hope he subs him. I need Brendan Allen to win this fight and look good doing it. And he was the one I felt safest carrying the flag this week without having to go to, Shevchenko, who's sitting at minus 700-ish. Prince of Mischief saying, does Della Maddalena have a better chance of getting a KO or a submission? Absolutely a KO. I'm planning on playing a double chance bet, either KO decision or sub decision. Yeah, I don't think he's subbing Ramazan Ameev. And let's look here. Ameev's stats. He has been subbed once in his career, and he's been knocked out once in his career. But look at Jack Della Maddalena. 1 win by sub, 9 by knockout. That's all you need to know. He's got 10 finishes, and 9 of them are by knockout. So go the knockout decision, great. And if he hits the sub, oh well. And then Any Action Sportscast saying, Weezy, what was life for you at like age 28? That's how old I am. So, oh God, at age 28, let's see. I was, so that would have been 2002, huh? Whew. Some weird years for me. So I was working at the Chicago Stock Exchange back in 2002. That's when I was 28. And, we were really suffering over there at that time. A year after 9/11, the NASDAQ stock market was crashing, and I was trading NASDAQ stocks on the floor there. I was a specialist for like 13 different stocks on the floor of the Chicago Stock Exchange. So it was weird because I had immediate success coming out of college, working on the floor, making a fucking pile of money at a very young age, and doing a lot of really dumb shit, which you're going to tend to do at 22 when you're making 6 figures. And then all of a sudden, kind of like the rug got pulled out from underneath us. The market started to crash, the towers fell, and then things got really stressful because we weren't making nearly as much money. Expenses were going up, and most of us lost our jobs. And then we were kind of like looking for jobs. It's like, I'm used to working from 9:30 to 3 and making 6 figures to do it. Now there are people that are telling me they want me to work 8 to 5 and work for 10% of what I was making before, so it was rough for me, man. If you asked me what life was like at age 24, I would say that, it was fantastic, but that was a point where, I had kind of come off a high of having a ton of success in life, and then things kind of got tough for a while. So, but still, I was in my 20s. So life's great when you're in your 20s, man. You're young, you're full of energy. You got your whole life ahead of you still, and you're just starting to feel yourself out as an adult and feel that, find out the kind of person you are and what's important to you and what you want to do with your life. So yeah, it's a very, very interesting time, your 20s. Big Timer is saying, can you scroll down for the grapple stats? Yeah, I think I might have missed you from earlier, but yeah, they should all be. Oh, it's probably because I've got the messages up there. Yep, got it, man, got it. Thomas Kane saying odds on Allen by knockout, maybe ground and pound. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that likely, but he's got good ground and pound, and I think that if it's on the feet and he is able to stop the takedowns of Valkoon, that's when Brendan Allen by knockout is going to be live. I mean, he knocked out Sam Alvey, and Sam Alvey's not easy to knock out. Now, I mean, I know he's getting old and he's on a huge losing streak, but Sam Alvey is notoriously durable. And, Allen was rocking him with some shots. So, yeah. And then Thomas Kane saying, MMA code, give me the odds on Allen by KO. Dummy, thank you, sir. Justin Deep Brar saying, do you think Johnny Curtis KO woke up Allen? So Curtis knocked him out. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really woke him up, so to speak. I don't think Allen's very young. So I don't think he necessarily knows who he is yet. He's a grappler first, but he's been training at Sanford. He's been training his kickboxing under Henry Hooft. And it's easy to fall in love with your hands when you work on them that much. But sometimes you kind of forget who Brendan Allen is and how he got here. And he got there, by grappling, by winning fights on the mat, by, having that style that finishes fights on the ground. And so I don't think it necessarily woke him up. I think he still is in love with his hands. And I think against Valkoon, that's a good thing. That's why, normally I would be really worried laying juice on Brendan Allen because of his fight IQ, because of his tendency to keep fights standing that should be on the ground. But he's better standing than Jacob Valkoon. He's bigger, he's taller, he's got more power, he's got more reach, and he's the better technical kickboxer. So really, if Valkoon wants to win this fight, he's going to have to do the dirty work for Allen by taking it to the ground where Allen is at his best. So I don't think it necessarily woke up Allen. I think he's the same fighter that he was. I just think that the style of this particular fight is going to be much better now because Allen's going to be better on the feet. And if the fight stays there, he won't be at a deficit. Papa Chuck saying, how is Valkoon 26 years old? Dude, look, he doesn't look 26, man. There's no question about it. He looks like he was not only buying beer at 7-Eleven at 12 years old, but working the cash register too. It's so true, man. He does not look 26. Prince of Mischief saying, what are your thoughts on Garcia versus Misha Tate going to decision? Garcia? She's fighting somebody named Garcia? What Garcia? All right. Fighters. Tate. Misha. Lauren Murphy. Lauren Murphy versus Misha Tate going to the decision. Well, I think it probably definitely goes to decision. Oh, you're talking about Mahashate, not Misha Tate. And it's Mahashate. So the odds are plus 180. What do they know? Thank you. No, I think that if that fight stays on the feet, Garcia and Mahashate both got a ton of power, and they're both strikers first. And so I think that it's going to be a war if it stays on the feet. However, I do think that Garcia's best path to victory is to take down Mahashate and win minutes on the ground. And I think if he takes that path, he's not a good enough grappler to finish Mahashate, and that it will go to decision. So I don't mind the plus 180. And here, let's take a look at the prop template for this fight. So Mahashate versus Garcia, and that's actually what I already have up here. So it's important to note that this is 145 pounds, or no, it is 155 pounds. So the 155 pound finish rate is right around 50%, 49%, I think. So we're paying at minus 200 or minus 220, like a 67, 68% implied probability. That's 18% more than what these fights normally finish at. And not only that, you know, I mean, if Garcia is just a little bit jet lagged and stuff, he might not perform as well. He might be less likely to score a knockout. So in this one, 13 of their 23 combined fights have finished inside the distance as pros. That's only 56.5%. You know, so you're overpaying 10% based on the implied probability of this line, which would probably be more because it's better than minus 200 now. So I do like the bet that I would make on this fight. I would not lay minus 200 for a lightweight fight to finish inside the distance, especially when one guy is flying halfway across the world to go there. So that would be the bet that I would make. I would say the fight goes because I think it's pretty juicy at plus 180 for any lightweight fight. And, you know, Garcia's finishes in both wins, but one of them is against Charlie, the American bad boy, Ontiveros. You know, he's tapped to having Vaseline put on his face before. I think he's been knocked out by a hot shower. So it's not surprising that he was able to finish that guy. And I don't remember who else he finished, but I don't think it's like some awesome fighter. And Mahashate is not very experienced either. So I see why people are betting it. The fight doesn't go to decision, but it's too juiced at this point for me to even think about touching it. As a value better, I would have to be on the fight goes side to try to get some value there. But Prince of Mischief saying, I never played a finish prop before, e.g. fight ends by KO sub with a fighter. Are there any spots that stick out? I was thinking Fiallo and Matthews ends in knockout TKO. It's plus 105. Yeah, that's not a bad look. But I usually like that when, you know, you've got a fight doesn't go that you like, but when you know that both fighters only have one win condition. And then it's a way to get a minus 200 fight doesn't go to decision down to like minus 160 by saying, I'm just going to say fight ends in KO or fight ends in submission when it looks like both of their chances is to get either the KO or the submission. But it's a bet that I largely stay away from unless it sticks out like a sore thumb. Now, in this case, Fiallo has almost all of his wins by knockout. God damn it. So Fiallo, 81% by knockout, 6% by sub. But look, Jake Matthews has more submissions than he does knockouts. And in the UFC, he's won 4 of his 10 wins by submission, only 1 by knockout, and 5 by decision. So when you're taking fight ends by KO, basically what you're saying is that you hope that Jake Matthews isn't winning the fight. So you might just want to take Fiallo by KO because it'll probably be better than plus 105 unless you think that Jake is live to knock out Andre. Andre has been knocked out in one of his losses. So it is a possibility. Victor De Jesus. Sal probably works for the Mafia, and I would say that probably is maybe a little bit underestimating it, Victor, but I'm with you, brother. Prince of Mischief 2225 saying the thing about Sal is he doesn't even want to improve his judging. He just shows up. His reputation is a joke. He's trash. Yeah, and why would he have to? Why? I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how you know his judges are fine with, or I mean, his bosses are fine with the job that he does. He's making the right people happy, and the right people is not the gamblers. The right people is somebody else who's profiting from us losing money based on his ridiculous takes. So, yeah, I mean, you know, he's not a joke to the people that pay his salary, man. They love him. Sal is giving a win to Macy Barber against Miranda Maverick was ludicrous. Yeah, I know. It was terrible. Mr. Jingle is saying, really like Bullet ITD, and FanDuel is under 4.5 for plus 112. But a lot of sharp folks have Bullet decision and goes to decision. Yeah. See, the thing about Santos is that she's only got 1 loss in her career. And, you know, so it's easy to say, oh, well, you know, I mean, Santos has never been finished. Okay. But who's the best fighter that she's fought? Because if the best fighter that she's fought, you know, Valentina's a 10 out of 10. You know, the best fighter that she's fought is a 4 out of 10, a 5 out of 10. You know, so she's taken a huge step up. So just because she hasn't been finished, she also hasn't fought somebody of Valentina's caliber here. So she's absolutely live to be finished. But, you know, Valentina, if it stays standing, she's a counter puncher. She will wait. She will be low volume at times. So I could see it going to decision. I just, you know, it's Valentina Bulachevchenko. I think we're going to see Talia put in places that she's very uncomfortable, and I'm not sure how she's going to respond to that. So, you know, Mara Romero Barella did win some grappling exchanges against this woman, and you know, if she could do that, surely Valentina can. And if Valentina has success with her top game and ground and pound, it's probably finishing. Uncertainty saying, Uncle Weezy, how old were you when you started watching UFC fights? When was the first time you started betting on UFC fights? So first UFC fight I ever saw was when I was in the Sigma Chi fraternity house at the Harvard of the Midwest, Northern Illinois University. Go Huskies. The Croatian dudes that lived next door got UFC 5 on pay-per-view. And so I remember going over there after it had started, and the first fight that I saw was Dan Severn against Oleg Taktarov. And Severn absolutely opened a vagina on the head of Taktarov, and he was bleeding profusely. His head was propped up against the cage, getting ground and pounded. It was a vicious finish. And I remember we were all just watching that going, God damn, this is fucking cool. You know, I have never seen a boxing match end with somebody in the cage with a goddamn mopping up the blood. It was crazy. So I was hooked ever since I saw that. You know, it was amazing to check that out. And I believe Dan Severn went on to win one more fight that night in order to win the championship that day. So cool. That would, I don't, let's look. Let's look at Dan Severn and when he fought Oleg Taktarov, and we can find the date of that one. So Dan Severn, the Beast, UFC 4 against Macias, Bossett, and Gracie, so that's not it. Okay, UFC 5. He beat Joe Charles by sub in the first round. He beat Oleg Taktarov by knockout in the first round. And then he beat Dave Benito by sub in the first round to win UFC 5. So that was April 7th, 1995. Was the first time I saw a UFC fight. And when I started betting on UFC fights, so I started doing DraftKings for DFS for MMA pretty much right when that started. And then I think one of the first money line bets that I placed, which was after gambling became legal in Illinois on DraftKings Sportsbook, was, I believe, the Holly Holm against Irene Aldana fight. And I had Holm at like minus 140 for like 2.8 units. It was one of the first bets, bigger bets that I remember cashing. But yeah, gambling didn't become legal in Illinois until a couple of years ago. So that was when I started actually betting on the fights. But before that, I was doing DFS any chance that I got. Jordan One Low Spade saying such a sorry card. I disagree. I think it's a good one, man. But the undercard for a pay-per-view is not as good as we would normally expect. But these, you know, the 4 of these 5 main card fights are really good. And then there's some interesting stylistic matchups that I'm too scared to bet on because I don't, you know, like I say, I feel like both fighters have paths to victory. But I'm going to hammer the spots that I really like. Let's see. Jong Lee saying, Uncle Weezy, can I get your best 5-fight money line parlay? Man, I wouldn't parlay more than there's nothing that I feel confident about. Brendan Allen. I mean, if I were to pick 5 fighters that I think is going to win, I go Brendan Allen. I go Joanna. I'm not Joanna. I'd go Valentina. Sung Woo Choi. God. Zhang Wei Li. And Fialho, I guess. No, Jack Della Maddalena. We'll go with, no. Let's keep it at 4. Shevchenko, Brendan Allen, Sung Woo Choi, and whatever the fourth one. Did I say Zhang Wei Li? Shevchenko, Zhang, Sung Woo Choi, Brendan Allen. That's it. That's all I can give you. I'm not confident about anybody on this card. A greasy 5-legger? No, dude. I already gave out the greasy 4-legger on Just the Tip last night, Mr. Jingles. It's the fight doesn't start round 4 for Teixeira Prochazka. It's right there on the bottom. The Naliang under 1.5. What I can't even read it. Long under 1.5 Liang Juarez. Fight goes to decision. Jacek Jang. Shevchenko inside the distance. And Teixeira Prochazka fight doesn't start round 4. That's the 4-legger. I'm not adding a 5th. If you want to add a 5th leg to it, do the Brendan Allen money line. That would be the way to go. Let's see. Papa Chuck saying, instead of Better Call Saul in MMA, it should be Shitty Call Saul. Shitty Call Sal. I love it. Oops, sorry about that. My mistake, Uncle Weezy. I don't know what you mistaked. Who cares? Nothing to be sorry for. What's up, Uncle Weezy? Had to pop in for the what's up, Nigel Lee? Good to see you in here, brother. Gogo Flamingo said the UFC must have a team of inferior Weezys working on favorable matchups for lucrative stars. Look at the matchups for Dawkins, Holland, O'Malley, Hawes, Pimblett. Do you consider this narrative? Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely, they're looking for fighters that are the most marketable, that can bring in the most money. They're going to bring the most eyes to their product, and they want to set those guys up to win. They want to set those guys up to succeed. And it makes, remember, at the end of the day, they're a publicly traded corporation at this point. There's no more, there's no entity on the planet Earth that has less morals and less giving a fuck about anybody that's not in their circle than the corporation. And this is a corporation now. They're out there to make money, and whatever people are going to throw the most money their way, they're going to cater the sport to them, and they're going to try to get those eyes on the sport, make the most money. They're using us as consumers of their product, and they're treating us as such. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, I consider this narrative because they're doing what's best for them. Prince of Mischief saying, one more about Della Maddalena. I'm planning on playing him on a single game parlay to get better odds. Jack over 0.5 at minus 135. Thoughts? Over 0.5? Over at minus 135. I don't understand that, Prince of Mischief. What are the likelihood it's over 0.5? I mean, like, are you talking about a point spread, or are you talking about over a half round? Because I mean, like, over a half round should be something like minus 600. So I'm not understanding the question there. MMA Fight Club, my guy Manny in the room saying, going to be some serious home court advantage to the Asian fighters on the UFC 275 card. Yeah, man. We could see that. I mean, but you never know, man. And then we got VS saying, what is my most confident bet? And he spelled it in Cyrillic. Oi is oi in Russian. I love it. My most confident bet this week would be, I think the fight doesn't go to decision for Teixeira Prochazka, or the under 3.5 rounds. I love that. I love the fight doesn't go to decision for Na Liang versus Silvana Gomez Juarez. And my most confident money line pick of the week is the Brendan Allen money line. VS, thank you for checking in from Russia. I appreciate you. And Any Action Sportscast saying, holy fuck, stock exchange? Yeah, the Chicago Stock Exchange. Yeah, here in Chicago. I used to work on the floor there. I used to trade NASDAQ stocks between the years 1998 and 2002. Sloppy Seconds saying, ha ha. And Nigel Lee saying, Uncle Weezy, I was a broker as well for Timberhill Interactive Brokers out of Greenwich, Connecticut. Same time frame as you. And your story was what I went through after 9/11. I feel everything you said, brother. Yeah, man, it was rough because, we were making a ton of money. And then, like the NASDAQ actually had already started to turn and top out before the towers fell. So once it started to kind of go down, once the towers fell, the momentum just completely crashed it. I mean, Enron at that point was starting to go out of business. And the fraud that was involved over there was kind of like starting to be brought to light. And then back in 2008, Lehman Brothers went under, and that was kind of like the death blow to my financial career at the time. That was what forced me to go back to school and to say, like, now I can leave this business because there's no jobs left in it, for me at least. So that's when I went back to school. But yeah, man, it was tough times. It really was. MMA Code saying that Thomas Kane, Malcolm will want to take the fight to the ground. That's why I favor the submission. Any Action Sportscast saying, Weezy, I know you've touched on your DJ days. How about that Daft Punk with? I didn't see that on Embedda, but oh man, I mean, like I remember Homework by Daft Punk that came out when I was in college. Some of the first records that I learned to match beats on were those some of those beats on Daft Punk's Homework. It brings back some really good memories, and those guys have released some great albums over the year and some great house music. Victor saying, hey Weezy, when are you going across the lake? Vivant is waiting for you, brother. Yes, I haven't been there in forever. My girlfriend was just up there moving her mother from one home to another, and I have not been out there for months. And my dog loves it out there. He loves running around on the farm out there. I'm going to have to get out there, but believe me, brother, you'll be the first to know because we're going to be going up to Grand Rapids. We're going to be knocking some back at Vivant. I can't wait, man, and we got to do it soon. I'll let you know, Victor, for sure. Prince of Mischief saying, yeah, I meant to say Mahashate. Oh, I took Misha Tate as a joke. Guess it. Yeah, that totally screwed me up because I'm like, oh, Tate's fighting. She's not fighting somebody named Garcia. Yeah, that's good. Let's see. Justin Deep Brar saying, I was looking up Phil Hawes and saw that he did Fury. Not familiar with that, but saw a lot of big names were on it. Is it strictly grappling? And why risk it if it's going to affect their record? Oi, bro. Yeah, well, they get paid. They get paid, Justin Deep, and it's good experience for them to do high-level grappling. And the great thing about grappling is that you're not getting punched in the face. You're not going to get cut. You're not going to get an orbital broken or anything like that. And usually you can tap out in grappling competitions before anything gets badly hurt. And I'm sure that a lot of these guys are going in competitions where maybe there aren't leg locks allowed because, you don't want to just go up against some leg lock specialist, gets you in a reverse heel hook and then destroys your entire leg. So, I think that there is some risk, obviously, but it's good for these guys to keep active. And at the end of the day, they fight for money. So if somebody's willing to pay them to go and fight, whether it's a grappling match or an MMA match, these guys, they need to make money. They work very hard for what they do, so the checks have got to cash. Dan Hamilton saying Dave Moretti was a corrupt boxing judge in Vegas. He was known as a degenerate gambler. Yeah, of course he was. I mean, it's not surprising. Everybody knows that Sal D'Amato is corrupt. Victor De Jesus saying Prince of Mischief, I have a finish only on Della Maddalena at 1.92 units to win one. Amiv can't even finish breakfast, not at UFC level at least. If anyone finishes, it will be Maddalena. Yeah, and I like that line because, like I said, Maddalena finished all but one of his wins, and Amiv 0 for 5 in the UFC for finishing wins. And in his style isn't a finishing style. It's a minute-winning style, a grappling-heavy style. Jarno saying, Mahashate inside the distance, decision, no action, could be worth a bet. What do you think, Weezy? I think Garcia has a chance to finish Mahashate too. Both of these guys hit extremely hard. So I would, because I think, I usually try to hit those decision only or finish only props when it's really lopsided, like in the Amiv Maddalena fight. For instance, I hit a finish only prop on Lucas Almeida versus Trezano last week. And it's because Almeida had a 100% finish rate and Trezano had a 0% finish rate at the UFC level. So because Garcia has been a good finisher and he's finished both of his UFC wins, I wouldn't do the finish only prop if your idea is that Mahashate wins this fight. Maybe just bet him inside the distance. But Mahashate's never been finished, so it's an interesting look. It wouldn't be a bet that I'd be making, though, Jarno. And keep it cool, saying, "Oi, yes, I know it's a bit late, but I never heard your opinion on whether Holly got robbed or not." I thought Holly won the fight. Okay, but as a gambler, I can't be as concerned with what the judges thought. What I have to consider is I laid minus 240 on Holly Holm, and she looked minus 120. Okay, so I made a bad bet. And that night I had been drinking. I was pissed off and I wanted to put my fist through a wall. But, and I got a guy that didn't do it with a couple people on Twitter talking shit back and forth because they were saying they thought that, Anders lost and Holm lost. I'm like, fuck you, because I had bets on Anders and Holm and I wanted both of them to win. But, you're going to be on the wrong end of those split decisions. But what I was more concerned with, keep it cool, was just evaluating the bets. And in the Anders bet, I was happy with it because I got plus 205 on Anders, and it wound up being a very close fight, being a coin flip. And I went into that coin flip holding the plus side ticket, so I felt good about it. Did it cash? No. But then the Holly Holm fight, do I think she won the fight? Yes. I mean, absolutely. I think she won the fight. I think it's almost impossible to lose a fight when it's 25 minutes and you hold your opponent up against the fence for 40% of the fight, right? The only way I think you lose fights like that is if you're getting dominated in the other 60%. And really what happened was it was 50-50 in the other 60% of the fight. It's not like Ketlin Vieira was having moments out there that would say, wow, I'm giving her that round. I mean, she knocked Holly down, she took her down and held her down. I mean, none of those things happened. Holly Holm was the one who landed the knockdown. And everyone's like, oh, Ketlin landed the harder shots. I mean, she landed less significant strikes than Holly Holm did. She landed less total strikes than Holly Holm did. And she spent 10 minutes being controlled in that fight while Holly Holm spent 1 minute being controlled. So, but at the end of the day, Sal D'Amato agreed with me. So what does that make my opinion worth? So, I don't know if Holly got robbed. I mean, I think we got to save that word robbery for when, it's fucking clear, that they won. And I mean, I think Holly fought like shit. I mean, she was by far the better striker and she was not acting like it. She was afraid to throw kicks because she thought they would get caught and she would get taken down. But her striking relies on her being able to use those kicks to maintain distance. To maintain distance. She didn't do that. So unfortunately, she lost the fight. So was it a robbery? I thought she deserved to win and she lost. But did she look minus 240? Fuck no. So when I'm just out there spitting fire about how she got robbed, I need to spend that time evaluating the decision that I made and learning from it. That's how we get better in the long run. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Any Action Sportscast saying real gamblers bet on NIU when there is value. Money is in the crumbs. Oh, you got that right, man. The Harvard of the Midwest, baby. Go Huskies. Dan Hamilton saying, I knew one of the trainers at UFC 5. James Brewster Thompson. No kidding. That's wild, man. Those days were just, I mean, watching those original UFC events, we'd never seen anything like it. The best that we had seen was boxing, and then you see dudes in there, they don't even have gloves on. This was bare knuckle. They weren't even wearing gloves. They're cutting each other. They're kicking each other with shoes on. They're choking each other out. It was so raw. It was so real. I mean, it gave you chills just watching it, like there was so much at fucking stake. So, man, those were crazy times when the UFC was in its infancy. Prince of Mischief saying, thank you, Victor, for the comment. That's a great bet. Unfortunately for my state doesn't have finish only props. So many missed opportunity. I hate that some bets are not available in certain states. And Victor saying, oh, that sucks, brother. I always bet those, but they're void because they all go to decision. Yeah. Last week I cashed my first one with Almeida finishing Trizano. I cashed one a while back with Vanessa Demopoulos finishing Silvana Gomez Juarez, but it was almost Vanessa that got finished. And I've gotten clipped on a couple of those. I had Barrio finish only prop against Chidi Enja Kawani. That did not go my way. And I know I've had another one finish only where I was completely on the wrong side of it. But yeah. And let's see here. Keep it cool, saying to everyone in the chat, Vegas was made on parlays, and never forget it. So true. Prince of Mischief saying that's it's awesome you cashed a finish only. I hope your Della ticket cashes. Good luck, Victor. Yeah, I hope it does too, because I've got him in my DraftKings lineup, and I think he's going to have a big game. Immaculaton saying Valentina plus money to finish is the play. It's in my greasy four-legger, so I hope you're right about that. Adam Rush saying, oi, sorry I'm late. Let's stack them. Yes. And the MMA Fight Club saying slam the like button, family. I agree. We got Prince of Mischief saying over 0.05 is over the 2 minutes and 30 seconds in the first round. Usually they're juiced, but pairing that with Della brings it down to minus 135. Okay, so what you're saying is it's a same game parlay, and it's Jack Della Maddalena to win mixed with the over 1.5, and it's minus 135. I like that. I like that because I think Ramazan will be I think he'll be wrestling early, and this is Jack's only second fight, and I think it's going to take him a minute just to kind of get into the flow of the fight, especially against a much higher level opponent in Ameev than he had last seen against Pete Rodriguez, dead game. So yeah, that makes sense, and yes, I think that's a pretty good play, especially if you really are heavy on the Maddalena side. If you think he stops these takedowns, if you think he can keep it on the feet, I think he looks even better than minus 160. Sloppy Seconds, do you still trade stocks? I do not. I'll tell you something. After being a specialist and being on the floor, trading stocks, living the moves of stocks day to day, and having the quality of your life depend on them, I began to realize that it's very arbitrary and very difficult to do. And I'm not a part of the club that makes money on stocks, because the best way to make money on stocks is to get access to non-public information. And first of all, that's illegal. And second of all, people with information that can lead to profit usually share it with people that can help them out in some way. So you begin to find it's a big rigged game, and you're not the one rigging it. So let other people get rinsed. It's not something I do anymore. Don't really have any interest in it. I hate corporations. So, I don't want to be putting my money into them. So I don't do it anymore. It's just something that I've really stopped caring about, and don't have a passion for it anymore, to be brutally honest. Papa Chuck saying, do you have an update on Narco Cop? He seems to be MIA as of late. I hope all is well. Yeah, no, he's doing good. Narco Cop, his family is in the process of moving right now from Chicago to Arizona. So I think his family is over in Arizona right now, getting that place ready. Either that or he's in Arizona, one or the other. He's been very busy lately, but yeah, he was on Best Bet on Saturday with Brady and myself. And yeah, as far as I know, all is well. I saw that he took a picture in the gym yesterday, getting his pump on. So yeah, Narco Cop's doing well, man. Just my 2 cents saying, sup, Weezy, sup, boys. Thomas Kane saying, I benched 315 today. 3 plates on each side is 315, right? 45, 90, 135, 270, 45, 315. You are a lot stronger than me, my friend. Big up yourself, Thomas Kane. That is one hell of an accomplishment. Prince of Mischief saying, now I'm not sure if this is the type of content you'd be interested in doing, but I'd love to see a Weezy taste test. Masvidal's tequila, The Rock's tequila, McGregor's Proper 12. What do you think? That'd be an interesting thing to do one time, like on a watch along while I'm, watching fights, and then that would be interesting, We'll have to talk about that, man. Sloppy Seconds likes that idea. Brewster did Lionheart with Jean-Claude Van Damme. He emceed the opening of the Boxing Hall of Fame in Vegas, and I was his sidekick. Holy shit, that's cool, man. That's cool, dude. I love these old school guys who do that. And I mean, Lionheart was one of my favorite. I loved all the Van Damme movies. Lionheart, Bloodsport, Kickboxer, classics, absolute classics. And then there was some movie on Netflix recently with Jean-Claude Van Damme where he played himself. Jean-Claude Van Damme played himself, and it was a hilarious movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It came out in the last couple of years, and I can't remember what it's called, but check that out if you get a chance. Justin Deep saying, Weezy, you still think Kyler Phillips, you still think Kyler Phillips still a prodigy? I think his last loss was a robbery. He's the last person to beat Yadong. Yes. Again, oi, Punjabi style, baby. Yes, sir. Yeah, I think Kyler Phillips is very good. I think he's explosive. I think if there's one hole in Kyler's game, it might be just the fight IQ, to know when to go, to know when to rest, to pace himself to last a full 3 rounds. But yeah, who did he get robbed against? Was it against Paiva? Kyler Phillips? I forget, but I know there was one fight where he was really on the wrong end of a bad decision. I think it was against Paiva. Yeah, it was the Holly and Paiva fight. And let's see if Saul D'Amato had it 28-28. So, yeah, Kyler Phillips. Oh, God, Kyler Phillips had a 10-8 in the first round and then managed to lose the next 2. And I think that's how Sal scored it. And then I think it's actually Sal might have been the one who scored it correctly. But I thought he could have given either of the last 2 rounds to Kyler. And I think that's what you do when you got one guy. And I've said this before, and people have called me a clown for it, but it's total bullshit. It's absolutely the way you should be thinking as a judge. If in one of the first 2 rounds, somebody has a big fucking round, and then in the other, like let's say round 1, you got fighter A, and then in round 2, you got fighter B winning a 10-8. If round 3 is 50-50, you give that round to fighter B because now he's going to win the fight and he was winning the fight up to that point. What's the point of giving a 50-50 round to fighter A when now it's going to be called a draw, but they didn't really win the fight? So that's another situation to talk about another day, but Kyler Phillips is a stud. He happens to be in the toughest weight class in the entire promotion, though. So it's going to be a long time before Kyler gets to get into the top 10 there, the top 5. But I think his trajectory is running in the right direction right now. HD Tube saying, yes, sir, Weezy, fuck those cores. Yeah, corporations for sure, man. Sloppy Second saying, what was the last record you bought? Got the new Spiritualized album on the way. And prior to that, Junion Live. As a matter of fact, no, it's not up there. Yeah, but it's usually indie rock these days. I've bought the latest album by the Nude Party. I've got some Rolling Blackouts, Coastal Fever. I've got some Pond. I've got a bunch of kind of just like psychedelic rock. Dunion from Sweden, one of my favorite bands. I like music from all over the world, but I definitely like psych rock the most. But yeah, last record, I believe. Well, the last record that I bought isn't here yet, but it's the new Spiritualized album. Prince of Mischief saying, I was thinking about doing double chance with Choi. What's the strongest 2 that are likely? Decision and knockout for the double chance for Choi, for sure. My guy Monk in the room, one of my partners over at the MMA Engine. What up, Weezy? What up, chat? What is your favorite Chris Farley movie or role? Definitely Tommy Boy as Tommy Boy, man. My favorite Chris Farley movie of all time. Him and David Spade were a good team together. Great story about Chris Farley. So I used to work at the Board of Trade. After my Chicago Stock Exchange days, I kind of bounced around the financial district of Chicago. Was working on the floor of the Board of Trade for my cousin for a minute. And there were some guys there that had been there for a while. And one of them was telling a story about Chris Farley. So they were on the floor, on the trading floor of the Board of Trade, is like the second floor or the third floor of the building of the 141 West Jackson building. So you would be on that floor, but if you had to go to the bathroom, there were no bathrooms on the floor. You actually had to go to the escalator, go down like 2 floors, and then there were the bathrooms. So Chris Farley was working on the floor, and of course he was a total fuck up, drug addict, barely showed up, was one of the worst employees of all time. So one day, the open happens, and things really only happen at the open and the close on the Board of Trade. And then those 2 hours in between are kind of like nothing, and everyone's just kind of sitting in the pits talking. So the open happens, and one of the guys who's kind of like running the desk saying, "Where the fuck is Chris? Somebody go fucking find Chris. He's not here. We need him here. We're busy." Right? And people are like, "Where's fucking Chris?" And one of the guys like, "Dude, he's all fucked up, man. I think he went down to the bathroom." So go down to the fucking bathroom and get Chris's fat fucking ass up here. We need him, right? So these guys, they go down the escalator, go down to the second escalator, and then there's like a group of people outside the bathroom who are laughing. And he's like, "What the fuck are these people laughing at?" So they go in there, and it's Chris has stripped down to his fucking underwear. And because he's so fucking hungover and still all jacked up from the drugs that he had done the night before, he was overheating on the floor. And he went down there, took off all of his clothes, and laid on the tile floor of the bathroom because it was the coldest surface that he could find to try to cool down. And I guess that was when Chris Farley got fired from the Board of Trade. So that's a little story time with Uncle Weezy from the Board of Trade days. A lot of great drug stories and stories of just complete. I mean, these guys are some of the biggest scumbags on the face of the planet Earth. You give a 22-year-old millions of dollars and tell them that he's awesome enough, they can become really fucking horrible people. There's a lot of them down there, man. Dan Hamilton saying Billy Blanks was in that movie too. I trained with Billy in '89. Holy shit, man. Dan Hamilton, the man. Prince of Mischief saying, what's the best thing you ever bought with your winnings? Dinner, electronics, vacation, events. Oh, man. That is a good question. I remember winning. My buddies were going on this golf trip every year, and I just hadn't played golf in a long time. And, so my clubs were out of date, and I won the Haymaker like 4 years ago. And I think I won like $2,000 or $2,500 on that. And, my friend called me up like the day after, and he goes, "Dude, when are you going to start coming on this golf trip with us?" And I'm like, well, maybe this year, because I just won $2,500. I can go out buy, some new clubs, and I can go on the trip. So I actually spent money on some new used golf clubs and a golf trip. And now I've been getting out playing golf a few times every year, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So I would say that's what it is, man. HD Tube saying, have you looked ahead to the June 18th card? Yeah, I'm looking ahead to it right now. I started doing the advanced stats for it, and I'm going to start working on the I'm going to stay up late tonight watching the UFC Road to Singapore, or whatever they're calling it, and finish up this and start looking into these cards. The first thing that's sticking out on this card is Court McGee is fighting Jeremiah Wells, and it's a pick'em. And I have fucking no idea why Court McGee would be a pick'em against Jeremiah Wells. I know Wells is a good fighter. I know he's younger. I know he's well-rounded. But, dude, Court McGee has fucking fought everybody. And to make him even money against Wells, somebody with less than 10 pro fights on his record, is fucking disrespectful. I think Court McGee is so underrated. I think he's still got a lot left in the tank, and I think he runs through this dude. So the first thing that's sticking out, and I've done no research, I have no stats, but when I just saw those names and I saw the line, Court McGee really, really stuck out. And Monk Maddox saying Ty Bo for life. Billy Blanks is the man. And he's saying before Ty Bo. Well, Billy Blanks made a ton of money off of Ty Bo, so God bless him, man. That's what you do in this life. You try to take your strengths and make a bunch of money doing it. My guy Dave Bandit in the room saying, yo, Weezy, I still want them probability sheets. When will you make them on Patreon or something? So I'm going to be, they're going to be available on the MMA Engine website. That is going to be launched very soon, you guys. We're looking before July to have that launched. So it's going to be part of the paid membership of that site, and it's going to be one of the cornerstones of what gives this MMA Engine value. We're going to be giving you the cheapest MMA content with the best analytics. We're really looking to kind of change the game for middle range MMA gamblers and DFS players to be able to go to a one-stop shop for information on betting and on DFS, and the prop template is going to be a very big part of that, Dave. Prince of Mischief saying, who comes up with these awesome names for the show? Stat Diggers, Probability, Just the Tip, Ass Shaving of the Week. It's gold after gold. So Probability was Brady. Just the Tip and the Balls Deep Breakdowns was me. We came up with Stat Diggers together, but I believe Stat Diggers was my idea because my girlfriend had said, what about like crate diggers, something along, because like as a DJ, we talk about crate diggers, and they're the guys who are in the record store just, listening to everything, finding that those rare gems that nobody knows about because they're constantly digging through crates. Well, I thought, I'm always digging through these stats, so why not Stat Diggers? So yeah, but Brady and I have come up with a lot of this stuff together. And then whenever you see like the childish names, like Uncle Weezy's Ass Shaving of the Week, Balls Deep Breakdown, Just the Tip, that's me. That's all my stuff. Sloppy Second saying, oh yeah, I love me some psych rock, Spiritualized and Dunian. Seen them both live. I've seen Dunian live like 8 times. They're incredible. Their drummer is my favorite drummer on the planet. Number 2, Mitch Mitchell from the Jimi Hendrix Experience. But yeah, Spiritualized, one of my favorite bands to see live. Dunian, one of my favorite bands to see live. Even like Wilco is a local legend. I've been into them since college. Yeah, man. And Tommy Boy, yes, damn right, man. And oh my God, great story, Weezy. Thanks, dude. Yeah, that Chris Farley story is something else, man. Tommy Boy was set in Sandusky, Ohio. I grew up like 15 minutes south of there. Oh, no shit, man. Yeah, a half a million brake pads. And let's see here. We got Uncertainty saying, Uncle Weezy, everyone knows Russian fighters like to grapple, wrestle, and take their opponents to the ground. How come their opponents can't stop the takedowns from Russian fighters? It's just about, what they're good at. Russian fighters sell out for the takedown. They don't get frustrated if they don't get the first one. And they work on the finer points of, see, what the Russians are great at is getting you there and keeping you there. But like, for instance, the Brazilians, when they get you there, they finish. When the Americans get you there, they fucking finish. But the Russians don't finish. You see, they're control masters. So what they're really good at is not getting too ambitious with what they want from the takedown. See, a lot of people, like as a former judo guy myself, these judo trips and throws that you get, you want to get your opponent flat on their back, because once they're flat on their back, you can now work for submissions. You can work to finish the fight. But the Russians, they don't care if they get you flat on your back. It's good enough just to get you down to a knee, or get you to one ass cheek, or just get one of your feet off the floor. And then they'll work for that next minuscule piece of control that they need to get. And then they'll work for the next piece of control. And they're happy just having your wrist. They're happy just having control of one part of your body. And what they're doing is they're winning minutes, but not winning moments. So I think what the Russians do is they don't get over ambitious. They don't bite off more than they can chew. They're very methodical about the little things it takes to maintain control when you go for your takedowns. And they're just masters at it. And that's why you have to pay a tax on so many Russian names these days when you're betting on them to win fights. It's because that ability to be able to control your opponent is so valuable in winning minutes, avoiding damage, winning fights, and climbing that ladder, and bringing a style that has consistency of results behind it. HD Tube saying, wait, really? I thought Jeremiah Wells has been looking really good. Yeah, but I mean, and Wells is a good fighter, dude. I'm not saying Wells isn't a good fighter, but like, let's look at what Jeremiah Wells has experience-wise in comparison to Court McGee, right? Jeremiah Wells, he's got 13 fights. Court McGee has something like 22 UFC fights. I mean, he beat Blood Diamond, and he beat Warley Alves, which was a very impressive win, but Warley completely gassed out in that fight. Now, he has been looking good, but look at what Court McGee's been doing. Did you see what he did to Ramiz Brahimaj on the ground? This is a guy who's known for his grappling, and he absolutely went through him like a hot knife through butter. Court McGee has been looking really good lately. The win against Claudio Silva was fantastic. The win against Ramiz Brahimaj was fantastic. And then look at the names. Carlos Condit, Sean Brady, Sean Strickland, Santiago Ponzinibbio, Ryan LaFleur, Robert Whitaker. He beat him. You know, this guy's fought everybody. He's got 7, 8, 9. He's got 10 UFC wins. That's how many wins Jeremiah Wells has in his career. People really underrate Court McGee, and you do it at your own peril. This guy's really only losing to the top level of competition, and he's in rare form right now. So I like Court McGee a lot in that spot. Justin Deep saying, got offered to work in Bloomington, Illinois to work at the hospital near you, Unc. Bloomington, Normal, Illinois, I believe, is an hour south of me, or it's 3 hours south of me, and I can't remember which. But that's over by Illinois State and Illinois Wesleyan Universities over there, I believe. Yeah, that's right. So I think it's an hour south of me. It's not too far, Justin Deep. It's in the state. Let's see here. Dan Hamilton saying, Billy Blanks was trying to get a fight with Mike Tyson while I was training with him. He showed me how he would fight Tyson. Wow. I wouldn't have wanted that fight. What's a good prop to pair with Wei Li and JJ fight goes the distance? How about the Naliang Silvana Gomez Juarez fight doesn't go the distance? That's a good one. Keith Moon, John Bonham, Neil Peart. Dude, I saw Rush a couple of times back in high school and then college. Neil Peart, rest in peace, brother. That was one of the best drummers on the fucking planet. John Bonham, rest in peace. Keith Moon, rest in peace. Two of those guys had serious drinking problems. Wow. But yeah, great drummers. Keep it cool, saying I'm not trying to jinx anyone or dispute anyone's takes, but when I see Jiri's money line at minus 200, I can't help but think it's a trap. Glover choked a stack out of my pocket versus Jan, so maybe that's why. Yeah, I'm picking Glover to win the fight. They've both got their paths to victory, and I think they're both very live here. Jiri's not minus 300. Jiri's minus 200 right now. Dan Hamilton saying KO round 1. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of people think that, and it's definitely a possibility with Jeremy Prochazka the way that he hits, man. Keep it cool. If you looked at the Glover round props, doesn't make sense. Glover wins round 1 plus 800 as of now. That is wide, very wide. And it's not minus 300. It is minus 200 right now. Jiri is sitting at minus 200. He's as high as minus 215 on FanDuel, and the best line that we can get on him is minus 195 on PointsBet. And Glover is a second round king of guy, though, yeah. But 800 seems way too high. It does, yeah. Jiri by sub plus 1,600 all day. Yeah, he's not subbing Glover. Keep it cool. Yeah, I agree. That was just an example. I think Glover wins round 2 with something like plus 1,200 or more. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah, you can probably bet the props. Jiri by KO and Glover by sub and make money. Agreed 100%, Dan. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Keep it cool saying when I watch how much Jiri has been hit by Volkan and Reyes and how easily Reyes took Jiri down, I get worried betting on him at all. Yeah, you don't want Glover Teixeira on top of you. Just ask Anthony Smith. Dave Bandit saying, have you maybe thought of expanding your stats with something like how many times fighter won, lost, when been heavy favorite, or when underdog? That would give a good fighter mentality profile. Yes, there are so many stats that I can add, but as a one-man operation, to go back and accumulate those stats is a ton of work. Right now, I got about 700 fighters in my database. So until I start getting some data mining capabilities on my end, it probably won't be something I'm adding to the stats that I'm keeping. But there are some plans to have some higher level analytics in place, and in order for those analytics to be sharp, betting lines opening and closing should be involved in them, and it's going to be a part of the research that I do. Glover will get Jiri down, easy money. Yeah, I think he can for sure, but all it takes is one from Jiri. It's not a fight that I feel you should be confident on either side about, because there's paths to victory for both guys. Is it better to take Glover money line or inside the distance? I was thinking inside the yeah, I would take him inside the distance for sure. It's hard to see him going 5 rounds without finishing Jiri, and Jiri's been finished in all 3 of his pro losses. Dan saying, I don't trust Glover's chin, minus 300 was my initial line. Okay, yeah. Keep it cool saying, I love betting on both fighters somehow. It makes me feel like a war profiting off of anyone's blood, man. That's for sure, man. Listen, I appreciate each of you guys hanging out with us. There's been as many as almost 50 people in here today. Appreciate each and every one of you guys for spending your Wednesday night with your Uncle Weezy here on Ask Weezy. Hope you guys had fun hanging out tonight. Check me out tomorrow night on the MMA Engine YouTube channel. We're going to be doing probability. Dave Bandit. We're going to go through all those prop templates. I'll get zoomed in real tight, and we'll find some spots. 7:15 Central Time, MMA Engine YouTube channel for probability tomorrow night, you guys. And then after that, the only order of business left is to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 275. You guys have a great night. Enjoy the road to the UFC 1. It's starting in 1 hour, and I will be watching it. And in the meantime, I'm going to be working on these stats for next week, and I will tweet them out when I got them ready for you guys. So you guys have a great night. I'll talk to you soon, and we'll see you tomorrow night on the MMA Engine YouTube channel for probability. Good night, everybody.